So I've never watched anything from this creator before, but this was recommended to me. The title is "What Is With DBD Anyway?" It's by Frip Frop, apparently it's just supposed to be kind of like, something therapeutic for this creator to just kind of like talk about, I guess, their issues with the game. And I, we'll probably relate to some of them, maybe not others, but well, let's see, because that's a lot of what we do here is just kind of like, especially when we're streaming live the game, it's like talk about the issues and stuff we have with the game. So yeah, go ahead and take a look. Actually, first, make sure we got the closed captions up.
Someone was asking, where do you see your game in 5 years? 5 years is a long time. And my answer...
Look at these two goobers. They have no idea that in a few years, DBD will be swimming in iconic horror characters.
Yep.
In this clip, however, the future of DBD was unclear. Matt does a blighting good job at looking mischievously uncertain about everything he says, but his philosophy over the years has evolved into something that actually resembles confidence in his own game. That might be because Dead by Daylight has almost reached its 7th year as a live service, which is quite a long time considering the humble beginnings of a small and assumedly inexperienced dev team. But that's precisely what riles up my interest. The longevity of DBD and the sustainability of its current development cycle has been a topic in the back of my head for a while now. Perhaps you're a bit like me in the way that you're still looking at DBD as if you were stuck in 2016. I still find myself surprised when I hear about the game beyond its main community circle.
If you are a support player, good luck. You're going to be playing Dead by Daylight this season.
If you look at the Steam charts, it becomes less startling. That's because DBD has managed to rack up some impressive numbers over the recent years. A lot of its highest peaks can be explained by Steam sales, or the introduction of highly anticipated horror icons.
Yep, it's just
how do we explain
literally this? Resident Evil, like this... Resident Evil is like the reason Dead by Daylight is still around. Like Resident Evil is the reason that DBD is still around. Like, skill-based matchmaking and like all the balance changes they made that largely people hate would not, like, people would be a lot more upset, but they just kind of like throw us a bone every once in a while. They're like, hey, pay attention. Resident Evil chapter. It's like, hey, come back. We have cool stuff. Come look. Wesker's in the game now. They just throw in a hard IP to get your attention back in the game. Kind of like the meme is showing here. Just CPR a little bit, just do some chest compressions, keep the game going. So even in spite of the game kind of generally going in a pretty like disgusting direction, they are able to like hang on for dear life by just throwing in these IPs every once in a while. So yeah.
The recovery in player count after the more disparaging lows hit by the game.
Yep. If you have not watched our other videos where we've looked at the Steam charts lately, DBD has not had more than a 2-month streak of positive players since October of 2021. DBD has not had a positive player growth of more than 2 months over a 2-month period since October of 2021, and that being obviously the anniversary event and then the Resident Evil chapter respectively. Yeah, so DBD is not, despite still surviving, has not actually had consistent growth in its game for over a year. Over a year at this point, which is not good. Not good.
DBD definitely has that appeal where no other game like it does. Sure, it's not the only game playing Pokemon with a bunch of IPs, but it's kept true to itself as a celebration of horror.
Wow.
Now, what do I mean by this? Well, imagine you have the only game on the market where you can loop Michael Myers around a tree stump for 10 minutes.
That's why I play this game. That's what got me into this game. That's literally what got me into this game. Is that, Halloween is one of my favorite movies, not just horror movies, one of my favorite movies of all time. And what got me into the game was I could play Michael Myers in this game. That is one of my favorite characters, like just in media. So I get to play him. That's cool. That's what got me into the game. Like literally.
Or run around as the cast from Resident Evil with a Demogorgon hot on your heels. Okay, it's one of 2 games that you can do that in, but that's not the point. The point is that these games are doing bloody well for themselves. Of course, this isn't the ultimate reason, and there isn't a one single answer as to why DBD is still alive and kicking. So let's begin analysing the factors that make and break DBD's lifespan.
It's been an incredible challenge that has forced me to reach down deep inside, and I
have nothing. Yeah, it's just completely empty up here.
I'm gonna say this: the gameplay loop is what, like, DBD being simple is like one of the things that keeps it alive. This is why I'm always like fundamentally against people trying to complicate gens by like making generators like, well, now you have to go gather parts, and then when you gather parts, you bring it back to the gen, and now now you have like 5 different versions of skill checks. It's like the reason DBD is so easy to get into, because even if you suck at like looping or like the more complicated parts of the game, you can always sit on a gen, right? Like you could always hold M1 and spacebar. Like that's not difficult. You could always hold M1 and spacebar, you know? So that makes it easy to play as like a casual game. And I agree, Toto. It's like, that's why I think VHS doesn't work, because you can't just pop in the game and play, because you kind of have to know things to perform at any sort of like mediocre level, right? Like, because even if you're trash at looping, you're trash at like, you always 3-gen your team, you could always just hop on a gen, hold M1 and hit spacebar. It's not complicated. And you contribute to the team. You contribute to the team winning, even if you guys don't win. With VHS doesn't really have that. You kind of have to, like, know what to do. So, yeah. Dude, you know what's funny, Axe? I follow another content creator on Twitter, and I forget their full tag because I don't actually watch them, but like I respond to their stuff on Twitter sometimes. And they said they were gonna go on to Killer on like a new account and play all the killers back to back to back. And they said one of their worst experiences they had doing that is that everybody shift W's and pre-drops, which is funny because that's accidentally like the safe meta play. But the survivors that are new are just doing it because they're scared. They're not doing it because they know that it's good. They're doing it because they're scared. But like, it's unironically the right play. So there's actually something to that.
Alright, so it's kind of obvious that good gameplay is essential for longevity. So how does DBD hold up? Well, the boring answer is it depends heavily on who you ask. On one hand, you have players with thousands of hours, who still find ways to make the game interesting for themselves. On the other hand, you have previously die-hard players who'd only touch the game again if they added another game mode or large-scale game mechanic.
Yep.
And there's another confusing thing. DBD doesn't have any other game modes.
Yep.
Now there could be many reasons for this. The original programmers for DBD have most likely buggered off to different projects by now, and I can't say with certainty that a simple game mode like 2v8, or anything similar in that vein, is something that the DBD code could withstand.
I think that's one of the weirdest things about like why you have so many different like design philosophies and stuff happening in Dead by Daylight is because most of the devs have like moved on to other stuff. Like in terms of like the original team or people that have been with like the game for a long time, most have like moved on. Most people have moved on and are on to other stuff. So that's why you get like this confusing kind of like, why did we work so hard to remove this window from Haddonfield? We just put it back on Garden of Joy. Like that's why you get weird stuff like that, because like the new guys that come in, you know, may not have that philosophy and they're doing their own thing. They may not be as receptive to like, you know, community input and stuff like that. So it just kind of creates these weird situations where it's just like, you know, there's not a design philosophy. Also, hey Scruffy, what's up? That's the norm of most game design professions. Yeah, but like with a long-term game like this, where like they've worked towards removing certain things or balancing maps a certain way and that sort of stuff. When you don't have like a game plan, like it starts to kind of warp what comes out of the dev team themselves, and it just kind of creates these weird situations that feel really disconnected from like our understanding of the game. Because like it's weird that like, it's not weird I guess, but it's like some of us have played the game longer than certain devs have been on the game, which is kind of like a funny thing to think about. So when we're like, okay, so we're moving away from this, like I said, like having God windows like was something that they seem to be wanting to move away from, right? They don't want God windows anymore. And then they just like put one back and it's just like, wait a minute, what happened? Right? Like I thought we were progressively trying to remove this mechanic, right, from the game over time. And then they just put it right back in a new map and you're just like, what? Like it doesn't seem like they have a firm like game plan. and they just kind of like, you know, it's like I think I've described this in a different video before, but like, you know, I mean, I was formerly a teacher. It's like having a kid that like turns in their paper last second, and you know they could do better, you know. Like, it's sloppy, but it's good enough. It's like a B paper, but you know they're capable of A if they just had a little bit more time, organization, and a game plan. But they just kind of submit it last second, and it's passable, you know? So it's just like, I don't know. It feels disconnected. And it doesn't seem like, it just to me, the time I've played, it doesn't feel like they have like a consistent philosophy when it comes to a lot of their like design decisions. And I know like people leaving, you know, contributes to that.
Additionally, there's probably someone at Behaviour who is pushing the team to hold tight to the 3-month content cycle and to relinquish any ideas that take major development time out of it. We'll talk about this later. I'd love to be proven wrong, and it's not like a new game mode could be the saviour of DBD's longevity. But I think a few people who are fed up of doing vault speed build videos would appreciate a new direction to the game.
Somebody made fun of this earlier. One of you guys said that earlier. It's like, I can only see so many vault speed videos before I'm just bored out of my mind. I'm tired of this. Is me with the rank 1 mindset videos. How many times can I see you run 3 slowdown and then 1 funny perk for your rank 1 mindset video before I'm just like, literally all of these are the same. Literally all of these are the same. Hold on, let's grab this. So we have 2 slowdown, 2 slowdown, 2 info, 2 slowdown, 2 info, 2 slowdowns to biffle, 2 slowdowns to biffle, 3 slowdown, 2 slowdown, 2 info, 3 slowdown, info, 3 slowdown, info. Like, these are the same, right? 2 slowdown, 2 info, 3 slowdown, stabiffle, literally quad slowdown. Like, how are these informative? How are these informative? At what point did your brain just say, I should probably run 3 slowdown and then maybe a perk for fun? Like, and you've seen that in our Survivor matches. That's like, that's what people do. People have learned that that's what you need to do, right? It's almost like 90% of the perks. Yeah, it's just like you don't need to have rank 1 mindset videos because like it's just redundant. Like, of course you run like 3 slowdown and then a funny perk and you'll probably get some value. Like, it's just, the content is so samey when it's like, we need to play with our best builds. It's like, do you really need somebody to tell you that? Just run the good slowdown. Yeah.
As for me, I've never truly gotten over that innate frustration that comes with DBD's gameplay, where if you're playing against one of those pesky survivors with a good setup as a quote-unquote bad killer, there's not a great amount of leeway in terms of strategy, apart from starting to play like a bit of an ass if you want to win. Likewise as a survivor, if a killer feels like committing a few cheeky war crimes in your lobby, there's not much you can do. Okay, so sure, it's this kind of scenario that can motivate people into improving. However, I will say that keeping frustrating playstyles in the game can backfire massively when it comes to player retention. Behaviors always—
There's a video that will be out by the time that this recording finishes. So like this video will be coming out like probably near the weekend, like Saturday, Sunday. And there's a video that I made that's coming out, I think Wednesday or Thursday, where I talk about like where I feel about like design in DBD. And essentially it boils down to like, I think that we need to tackle the outliers, and there just happens to be a lot of them. But in general, we need to keep the spirit that it's a party game. We just need to tackle the outliers. And one of the epiphanies I come to in this video is that, wait a minute, it's just bullying people like your version of a party? And it just like boggled my mind. I was like, wait, do you guys really think that just like bullying people is like a fun party aspect of a game? Because like there's plenty of party games that don't have mechanics like that are just like, you know, bully mechanics. And those party games do fine. And I realized that for some reason, DBD players seem to like intrinsically associate being able to bully the other side as part of a party. Which is just, it's just strange to me. Like when I play Mario Party, like everything's really like fun and janky and weird. Like there's nothing that's like the boringness of like fighting a quad slowdown gamer or like fighting like brand new parts, like hyper-focused toolbox gamers, you know? Like, there's nothing that, like, is that boring in the game. Nothing that boring in that game. It's okay to have a bit of cheese, yeah. Like, like it can be funny, right? Like, when something cheesy happens, and you're just like, bro, what? You know? But, like, literally having it be, like, intrinsically tied to, like, what makes a game feel like a party, I don't think games need to have what is, like, curb stomp, like, mechanics to, like, feel like a party. That's just weird to me. It's weird to me. I just never got that. And I think that like we are kind of in that era more so than ever now. Is that, you know, we kind of have, because of skill-based matchmaking, because of, like, you know, popular content creator videos, we've kind of more than ever kind of fallen into the bully v bully cycle. We have kind of, like, all fallen into this, like, bully v bully cycle. And it's not, in my opinion, that's not what a party game does. So
it's been a bit whack when it comes to altering controversial game mechanics, often to the detriment of the average player experience. Hey man, next time we play tag, we could kind of have this guy who can maybe teleport or, like, phase through walls, you know, just to spice things up a bit. Balance has always felt like a never-ending debate, as it is with most games, but DBD's feels particularly virulent, as many players will main a side without really exploring the other. At the end of the day, the limited usage of the killer pool is a product of player enjoyment. Not many people are going to continuously run meme builds if they keep losing. If you've ever switched to Nurse after a really bad game of Killer, then I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Having a stale meta doesn't usually go well for a game's lifespan. So what has been behavior's answer to long periods of
this is what I find the strangest thing. Here, I'm gonna get off this white screen so we can, yeah, there we go, a little bit more comfortable. This is the strangest thing that I find about behavior compared to other game studios with like live service games, is they're always tweaking things, right? Like, not in big ways, but in, like, tiny ways, right? Like, they do, like, little tweaks to, like, maybe we'll buff this perk a little bit, maybe we'll nerf this perk a little bit, maybe we'll buff this character a tiny bit, nerf this character a tiny bit, you know? Like, they're always doing, like, little tweaks and stuff. Behavior doesn't really do that. Behavior is, like, really strictly on this, like 1.5 month cycle, the 3 month content cycle, but, like, you know, they have the mid-chat in between, so it's a 1.5 month cycle of, like, we need to do this by this month, and then this by, you know, 1.5 month next time. You know, it's like, it's very stringent. They don't want to go outside of it. Other games that I play, they do just, like, little changes all the time, just little sprinkles. And then if those sprinkles don't work, they just take them back, or they just, like, switch it to something else. They seem so, like, scared to just, like, test and mess around with things that they just kind of, like, don't make small changes. And I think that's why we get so, like, uppity, like, as a community, right? Because, like, most of the changes are very big, right? Like, upcoming, Nurse is losing her range recharge. No matter how you feel about that, it's a big change. Dynamically affects that character, right? Like, all the changes are huge. So that's why we're always, like, you know, at each other's throats and always, like, bickering and complaining, because the changes are always so dramatic. They don't do these, like, these tiny little changes. Like, there's sometimes they're here and they're like, Flip Flop got a very tiny buff, but that was just because because, you know, Flip Flop is kind of, like, inherently part of the new icon system that they're rolling out, so they had to change it somehow. But, like, little stuff like that, they don't really do that often. Just a little sprinkle on this perk, you know, a little sprinkle on that perk. They just, like, do, like, okay, we're gonna do another add-on pass to this character, and then we're gonna touch, like, 3 perks, and that's it. You know, it's like, that's all they do. Like, it's very, like, we're not going to mess with things too much. You know what's funny? I want to show you guys something. And hopefully I can pull this up quickly. PTB, and they don't really use it to test anything? Yeah, it's mostly just for us to go play around with their changes. They don't really adjust too much based off of it. Okay, so this is the this is a fan touch of this, or fan explanation of this. This is so you guys know I used to play Street Fighter 5, right? That used to be, like, that was, like, my actual, like, I spent a long time in that game. I competed in that game. This is, so look at, like, here, let me pull up, like, the PTB notes versus the Street Fighter 5, like, patch notes, and I just wanted to show you guys. Okay, so here's like our patch notes, right? Like, we bring up our patch notes, and we get okay, we got a new HUD. Merciless Killer is changing. You can queue while doing things now. Wiggle is now going through, but this is an old change that's just being put through fully. Small balance changes to the night. Balance changes to the nurse. Then we're updating Area of Crows. And then bug fixes, right? Optimization and bug fixes, right? And that's it, right? Like, that's it. That's the end of the page. That is the end of the page. Let's look at Street Fighter V doing a patch. Okay, general stuff. Changing the way combos work. Abigail. All this stuff for Abigail. Look at all the stuff that just changed for Abigail. Akira. Look at all the stuff that changes for Akira. Akuma. Look at all the stuff that changes for Akuma. Look at this. Just look at from top to bottom. Watch me scroll. Let's count. Let's count how many seconds this takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. 4 seconds. Go to the top of this, where the changes actually start. And see how many seconds it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, still not done, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. Almost a full minute of scrolling to get through the patch changes for the Street Fighter patch. We got through behaviors in 4 seconds. We got through behaviors in 4 seconds. Street Fighter 5s, it took us almost a full minute to get to the bottom of the page. Almost a full minute. You guys, like, this is why, like, I get so, like, mad. This is why I get so, like, mad when, like, you guys just don't have the perspective. I'm not saying that to talk down to anybody. But, like, when content creators are like, oh my god, behavior's doing their best and they're working really hard. I don't know why content creators are so hard on them. It's like, brother, they barely do anything. Like, realistically, they barely do jack shit. It took us almost a full minute to get to the bottom of the page of the patch notes for Street Fighter V. It took us 4 seconds to get through behaviors for a mid-chapter. Like, brother, like, you guys don't know how badly they're starving you. Like, some of you guys are just DBD Andes who never ever play another game, and you don't realize how badly they're actually starving you. That's why I show you stuff like that, because I want you to see how much how little they actually do. Like, how little that behavior actually adjusts their game. That is also true. Street Fighter devs do actually play their own game. It does change things a lot. And they're constantly in the streams. They're constantly in the tournaments. They're constantly going to events. Like, they're in there in their own game. Like, some of you guys that, like, are in the DBD community are just, like, you only see things through the DBD lens, and it's stuff like that that's just like, why? They have that was, by the way, the reason that took so long is because they do look at every character. Even if they change something really minor, they look at every character for a patch. So that's just like, what is the excuse? Like, you don't know how much this game actually starves you of stuff like that. You don't know how much they actually just, like, don't do a whole lot. So, keep that in mind.
Behavior has boosted the everlasting heebie-jeebies out of DBD's popularity by releasing DLC-type content drops in a 3-month cycle. These chapters are the largest form of content we get as players, so you'd think they're one of the main factors keeping peeps in the game. And you'd be right. I jokingly like to compare this system to the Men in Black neuralizers. It's time for content creators to forget their DBD-related woes and pump out the shiny new stuff. Yep. It might even be time for players who have redirected their DBD launcher to the trash bin to pick up the game again. For some of you, it might even be a habit just to load up DBD after a chapter comes out. Now, I don't believe certain big chapter drops have been timed maliciously to distract players from a slew of buggy patches or the occasional drama.
Yep.
That's what blood points are for. It's not like Myers dropped in 2016 and the game suddenly became a smash hit either. Over time, DBD has been accumulating franchises as a sort of mass conglomerate for bigwig IPs in the horror genre. Admittedly, the top 3 big DLCs we've had made a huge impact in temporary player counts, some of which have definitely stuck around. Dead by Daylight's reputation has more or less snowballed into what we have now. Yes, the player count has bled a few times, especially after big DLCs, but that's just the natural loss that inevitably occurs after a sudden surge in players.
No, we disproved this. We actually disproved this. Remember, we looked at the Steam charts last time, and they from their peak in their, I think it was their 5th anniversary, they had 50,000 players, and now they're down to 30,000 players on Steam. We disproved that. We disproved that.
DBD used to always catch me off guard every time it reeled in another big IP. When Big M proudly announces he's on his very own crusade in the name of capturing every poor horror icon bastard in his wake, he means it. So we've seen the bonkers growth this regime has wrought, but there is an inherent downside to DBD's short chapter release schedules. Many chapters have been riddled with bugs, and the game health has suffered because there's less time for developers to fix outlying issues.
Dude, even Wesker is still awful. Wesker all the time. I'll like chuck somebody and they will slide off something instead of hit it. Wesker infamously has just like a semi-truck of a hitbox that even if you fairly dodge it, he just gets scooped into your hands. Like, he is still an incredibly buggy mess, that character. And they're just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, just go for it. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. We'll just leave it that way. That's okay.
Entire chapters were released with seemingly no changes from the PTB. Potential changes that could have been from desperate player feedback or mind-bogglingly obvious game-breaking bugs.
Yep.
Just one simple example of issues.
Bugs, this is what Toto was talking about. How does a bug prevalently exist in the PTB and it makes it to live? How does a bug that's like massively game-breaking that's prevalent in the PTB make it to live? Like, what is the point of the PTB? Like, it's just like, what? How does a bug that's like game-breaking exist on a PTB and then make it to live? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. What is the point then?
That come from this cycle are the perks themselves. Getting 3 perks for your side each chapter might not sound like a lot, but for the boys back in Montreal, it's a big deal. Having to balance perks for each killer is a nightmare, and we often see a few perks slip through the cracks of development, where a killer or survivor build that is already extremely powerful gets a new fun and interactive way to unplug the routers of opposing players. And of course, this problem is only getting worse with the continuous addition of perks every chapter. Despite all these issues and more, DBD still manages to draw in and retain players anyway. If I analyse stats as much as the balance team does, then I'd say unless someone at Behaviour HQ finds stolen breast milk in this bloke's fridge, DBD is going to be sticking to the system for a while. It's certainly the safe option when it comes to game development, and as a business model, Behaviour has no reason to change the tried and tested 3-month cycle. But what about the people who are fed up? Are there any games that stand a chance at competing with DBD and attracting the attention of DBD's burnt out audience?
But a real warrior never quits. Don't worry, Master, I will never quit!
You see it happen every time. The shiny new release of an asymmetrical horror game, the second coming of Christ for the weary DBD streamer. In a sort of sadist fashion, watching the cycle of people who suck up to a game that will die in a month or so is entertaining.
How many people have you seen completely, and I mean completely, switch gears to the new ASIM? How many people have you seen like completely switch their entire like they main the new game now? Like, they main the new game now, and they'll go over and they'll devote everything like to that, and then everything dies. Like, the game dies, and then they're just kind of like stuck. Like, how many times do you see that happen? How many streamers have you seen gone by the wayside because they wanted to hop on the new ASIM train, and they just end up without a platform? How many times have you seen that happen? Because it's more often than you think. It's more often than you think. We'll probably see it with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. You'll probably see that with the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game when that comes out. You'll see a lot of people say, "Oh, I main Texas Chainsaw now. I main Texas Chainsaw now." And I hope that game sticks around. Because, like, I feel like that game, compared to a lot of ASIMs, does look really, really promising. Ash vs. Evil Dead was really bad about that. Oh, yeah. Ash vs. Evil Dead was way bad about that. There were so many people that switched over. And that game just could not hold. It really couldn't. Predator Hunting Grounds. I didn't see a whole lot of people switch over to Predator Hunting Grounds. Predator Hunting Grounds did kind of like bite the bullet and not the perk. But yeah, it's like so many people have switched over. Like, I mean this game now, almost out of spite of DBD, and their channel crashed, essentially. Like, essentially their channel crashed because of it, so, yeah.
But it's also kind of sad. I think there's a vast majority of people that secretly want a game to come out that can rival DBD in its genre, or at the very least, pressure DBD into being better. The truth is that with DBD's massive star power, it's not going to have much competition. Most people would rather play with a quirky, comically evil villain from a fan favourite franchise than some random generic monster design.
Yep.
Okay, maybe this comparison was a bit harsh, but you get the picture. Even if a similar game with superior or more fun gameplay came out, it would definitely have a hard time catching up. DBD has 6 years of live development behind it, and like it or not, they've still achieved a lot within this time frame. However, to change topics quite abruptly, there's a certain area where in my opinion nothing has been achieved. An area in which DBD has massively failed its players.
I love that meme. Yep.
The grind for this game is fucking abysmal. If there's one area where the developers are utterly undefendable, it's the grind. I've seen DBD's approach to development compared to a revolving door. And while this sounds correct, with how player unfriendly the grind is, I'm starting to think that this comparison has become a little weak. I mean, not every new player loads up a 2-hour DBD guide video, realises how many unlocks there are remaining and thinks,
Yeah, alright, I'll have a go.
A lot of folks don't touch upon this subject because they've been playing for a while and have taken their progression for granted.
Yeah, you see a lot of streamers say that. You see a lot of streamers say that the progression is fine. It's because we have everything. It's because we have everything. We haven't had to grind in a really, really long time. You know what my grind is? You know what my grind is? I'll do it right now. You know what my grind is? This is my grind. I want to grind Wesker. Ooh, look. Add-ons. Oh, wow. More add-ons. Ooh, Amori. Ooh, that's a good one. Video conference, great add-on. Alright, we'll get a blueprint. Cool. Some wreaths for some blood points. Yeah, cool. Neat. I'm gonna... Yeah, like, it's just me grabbing add-ons and offerings. Like, that's my grind, right? That's my grind. And unfortunately, like they point out, like, I don't have any characters that don't have all perks on them. I have fully perked out every character on both sides of this game. On both sides of this game. I can play whatever survivor or whatever killer I want, and I can play it any way I want. So, of course, somebody like that is probably going to say, hey, you know, the grind isn't that bad. But, like, realistically, like, that takes a lot of time. A lot of time. I've been playing this game for almost 3 years. 3 years in May. 3 years in May. 3 years in May. I've been playing this game for 3 years in May. That's a long time. I finished perking people out like last year? Middle of last year? Middle of last year. Yeah. It's crazy. That's actually crazy. New characters takes forever. I'm stuck playing the same 5 characters. Isn't it miserable? Isn't it absolutely miserable? Like, the grind is abysmal. Absolutely abysmal.
Nowadays, players crave progression more than ever, but while those first few prestiges might feel sweet, the rose-tinted glasses fall off the moment you realize just
Axe, I play Siege, right? I owned half of both attackers and defenders before I actually decided to spend money on the game. I didn't, and even then, I didn't technically spend money. It was a Steam gift card from Christmas. Like, I literally owned half the characters on both sides of the game before I spent like any money on buying the characters. It's crazy different. Crazy different. Crazy different.
Alienating the grind is. Monetization in DBD is unfortunately intrinsically linked to the grind, and for lack of a better term, some progression and so-called gameplay is locked behind the old dollar, and even after you buy a chapter in DBD, you still have to grind for the perks.
Yep.
Jesus. What do you got in there? Cinder blocks?
Yep.
$500,000 in cash.
It really says something when they've attempted to solve this horrific system multiple times through multiple patches, and things are still looking worse than the average gacha game. Going through Bloodwebs is unfathomably...
Yeah, because basically, like, this was nice, but what this is just kind of, like, introduce more of the stronger items in the game, like syringes, styptics, brand new parts, really strong Eries like Engineer's Fang, like, just kind of introduce more of the stronger items into this game, but the grind, in terms of, like, the normal teachable way, is, like, still pretty painful. Still pretty painful. And it's definitely better to go the route of just prestiging your characters, even now. Just a bad investment in a stale game? Yeah. In a game
I'd
that's
rather
6
tell
years old.
DVD Twitter that I main Deathslinger, then go through another pre-stitch level. Now, progression makes people stick around. The regrettable truth is that this horrific grind is in some mad way good for longevity, but mostly behaves bank account.
Yep.
One of the reasons a system like the Battle Pass has become so popular recently.
There are friends that I know actively are on a DBD break, like an extended DBD break, and they come back for the Rift every single Rift. There's another Rift coming out. Is it next week? Is it next week? It's the 20-something. Yeah, I think there's a Rift coming out next week, like the new Rift. I think it's coming out next week. Don't quote me on that. 24th? Yeah, so that is next week. Yeah. So, yeah. There's a new Rift coming out. I have friends who have literally uninstalled this game who will actually reinstall it to do their Rifts. I think that's just crazy. That's just crazy to me. They will literally, they say, like, I hate DBD. I never want to touch it again. And then they'll reinstall for the Rifts. They're right. It's crazy. It sucks, but it's right. It keeps people coming back.
It's because it's a great way to make the players feel like they have something to complete, while also tickling the balls of players who feel like they need every cosmetic entry to an otherwise mediocre form of content.
Yeah, like the Rifts are good deals if you actively play the game. They are. Because like here, let's take a look. Since this is a React video, we're adding. Like, the average, these are all on sale. The average, like, skin or, like, set for, like, a DBD character, let's see, what's a good, yeah, Ghostface has some that I don't know. Like, you know, $10-ish, right? $10.80. Usually it's, like, the ratio for orc cells is, like, $1. So it's, like, $10.80, right? So that's, like, you know, $10 for this, like, you know, nice, Ghostface set. Okay, your shirts. Yeah, but, like, when you go into the Rift, they give you tons of sets. You spend about $10 on the Rift, and they give you tons and tons and tons and tons of sets. Yeah, they're randomized in a sense because they're based on the theme of the Rift, right? They're based on the theme of the certain characters that they just happen to pick for this Rift. Yes, and you also get your orc cells back, which is kind of like a scam because you can't take currency. You can put currency in, but you can't take currency out. But it does, in a sense, allow you to get something else as well. But yeah, like, it is a good deal if you play the game a lot. Because you get, like, especially since they're doing, like, the Rift recolors now, so they're releasing the same sets, but in different recolors now. Like, you get, like, 10+ sets for $10, where usually you get one set for $10, which is, like, it is a good deal. It just is. But only... keyword only if you play this game, because, you know, like I said, you can put currency in, but you can't take currency out. Once I have like I own everything on Myers, right? I have bought every cosmetic for this character because he is, like I said, my favorite horror franchise character of all time. I can never, like, sell this back to behavior, right? Or, like, with a lot of games, I can't go in and sell this on, like, the Steam market, right? I can't sell, like, these items on the Steam market. These are, like, this money, so that's, like, these were all $4. So 4, 8, 12. 4, 8, 12. 16? These $16 I'm never getting back. That $16 is gone. I can never, ever get that back. Like, literally ever. That's gone forever. And I can never get that back. I can't sell it on the Steam market. I can't do anything. Like, that is a sunk cost that I am never, ever getting back. So that's also another way that it kind of, like, is kind of, like, monetarily predatory, because, like, I can't get that back. Like, no matter what I do. No matter what I do.
To those unswayed by the DLC releases, these different methods of inflating content have to make players stick around. I mean, how else are they going to afford to pay these guys to make another dating simulator? Unbeknownst to many people, the lore has had a huge impact on DBD's lifespan.
The lore is cool. Just underrepresented.
Shattered by someone.
Personally, I like to judge on how a game is doing by looking at its community. Part of my very own enjoyment in games is seeing the community thrive around you, even if you don't talk to a single person. It's the atmosphere and security, and knowing a few chumps like you are also spending time playing the game you like.
Yep.
After all, player count isn't the only factor deciding longevity. From what I've seen in my 5 years as a questionable DBD man, the community is vast and very active. Having a humongous content creator scene also
we're all mostly upset. I think that's the thing though. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all mostly upset. If you're taking just like a look at the community and like, you know, testing the waters, be like, how are things going? Most of us are disgruntled in some way. And I say that as somebody who still mostly enjoys the game. Definitely not Survivor right now. But a Killer, I'm like, I vibe. I vibe most of the time I play Killer. There's some problems that I definitely point out and I get frustrated about. For the most part, I'm having a good time on Killer. Like, I still enjoy this game most of the time playing. That's why that comments, like that one weird one where it's like, you need to take a break from the game. You seem upset. It's like, brother, I still enjoy the game most of the time. I don't have to, like, I feel like we're kind of trained that way by DBD content creators. Is either you're absolutely just like making out with DBD, or you absolutely have to test the game and there's no in between. And I hate that you have to pick like a side of the fence to sit on with that, because it shouldn't be that way. I can mostly enjoy the game and have serious gripes with it that frustrate me. Like, that's okay. I don't have to be at this point of, you're so seriously upset with this game that you gotta quit soon or else. It's like, no, like, I can have serious gripes with the game and still mostly enjoy it. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna tell you something. That's how real life works. That's how real life works, man. You have relationships with, like, your friends, romantic relationships. You're gonna have stuff about them you don't like. You're gonna have stuff about them you don't like. That's okay. That doesn't mean the relationship has to end. Whether that be friendship, romantic, whatever. Just because you have things that you don't like about the other person does not mean you throw the whole relationship out the window. And the fact that, like, we are existing in this weirdo realm where, like, you either have to be all in or all out, that's not how real life works. You have been in the bubble way too long. You need to go touch grass. You really, really need to go touch grass. You can love your job and hate some of the customers or tasks involved. Literally. Wait, you mean there are gray areas and things? Not everything is black and white? Oh my god, yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Alright, a comment, not at you. Not at you, Totos. Just the comments I've gotten. Comments I get on my YouTube all the time. All the time. Comments I get on my YouTube all the time. Not even a single person. Just, I get it all the time. I'm not allowed to be upset with the game, or else I hate the game and I need to quit it, you know. I'm not allowed to enjoy the game, or else I'm a shill and I'm covering for one side or the other. It's just, you have been tricked by content creators that are trying to farm you for views into side v side stuff, whether that be Killer versus Survivor, enjoy the game or hate the game. You've been successfully, like, manipulated into forcing people into one group or the other, one camp or the other, so they can manipulate you for views, so they can manipulate you for engagement. I'm sorry that happened to you, but, like, homie, this isn't how the real world works. It really isn't. So get off that train.
Wonders for a game's longevity, which is exactly what DBD has.
Well, hi.
In a time where to be
a DBD developer
was to be condemned.
Like it or not, the devs are part of this community. Sadly, we haven't seen one of those good old wonky dev streams in a while, because they're a joy to make fun of.
Usually bad things come out of
No
those.
matter how cute and cuddly the devs are, the moment they pop out and show their face in a dev stream, they're marked for death, which is probably a good reason as to why they stopped doing them. It's a shame, because all we are left with is these crappy corporate self-congratulatory yearly streams, which only really shows how much budget Behaviour is willing to spend to get Matthew's bare feet on stream.
I remember freaking out about that. That was funny.
On the devs' part made me get a narrower insight into what to expect for the coming months or even years. It makes it a little harder to make accurate estimations of DBD's longevity. Even so, it doesn't look like anything crazy unexpected is in the pipe.
I don't know. When you come out and you compare the game to hockey, it's like, I don't know. I've never been in this zone. But, like, I get it. Like, if you react harshly to them when they do have dev streams, they don't want to do them anymore. Like, I understand that. I don't think anybody doesn't understand that. But, like, when you say something wrong or silly, we're gonna say that was wrong and that was silly. Like, what do you want me to do? Just lie to the guy? What do you want me to lie? You want me to be like, yeah, that was great. Fantastic job, everybody. Great job. Like, do you want me to like gaslight them and like pat them on the back and be like, oh, that was great, that was amazing, dude, keep doing it? Like, no, if you say something silly, I'm gonna tell you it's silly. Don't, like, I don't get that mentality. People bring up this mentality all the time. It's like, don't say mean things, they'll run away. And it's like, well, if they say something that's not good, we're gonna react not good. If they just didn't do that, nobody would react that way.
Line, unless you consider the potential introduction of another horror icon to be a big event.
Ma petite chou-fleur.
So then folks, we've finally reached this point. What kind of conclusions have I built from staring at the Steam uninstallation button for a good 5 years? Well, before we dive into that, I'd like to present you with a cheeky poll I dumped on Twitter a few days ago. Okay, so I purposely kept the definition of longevity obscure in this poll, because many people have differing opinions on when a game is truly dead. Now, assuming that most people answered the poll with a decent degree of seriousness, I can safely say that people have come to similar conclusions I had when writing this video. We also had some of the same story beats as my script, so for the first time in my life, I feel kind of validated. I reckon the practically unlimited potential of almost equally unlimited horror IPs spells a long life for our lovable Stockholm Syndrome simulator. If the devs can pull off some wicked new intuitive gameplay, that will be cake on the icing too. A lifespan of 5 years or more looks very plausible, as long as the team doesn't do anything monumentally stupid.
Like the Pinhead
what do I know?
That almost
I can't
got
see
it
into
before.
the future. I'm just a scuffed DBD animator, and whether you thought this video was a cute little food for thought piece, or a narrative disaster, then feel free to plus or minus rep my Steam profile, or alternatively, leave your opinion in the comments below. How long do you think DBD will last, and why? Okay, hello folks, this is post-edit Frip coming at you live. There's a lot more I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
In my
Encore?
scripts.
Encore?
'Cause I've been editing for
Encore?
the last few days, and as I do the visuals for this video, I kind of realize how when you listen to your script a million times, it kind of starts sounding really shallow and quite repetitive, and you kind of go a bit crazy. So there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to pick up on, but maybe that's for another time. Maybe that's for another video that I'll be doing in the future. So look forward to that. And then a fun fact, when I was editing for this video, I found a clip of Matthew in the Game Awards, and he's kind of just, usual Matt rambling about DBD, and he's kind of talking about the longevity of DBD and how they plan to just keep the game running for the next 5 years. And I thought it was funny because it just completely ruins the narrative of my intro, like my entire intro. So enjoy this funny little tidbit.
I'm here with Matt Cote, who's the game director for Dead by Daylight. We just saw that. Matt, welcome to the Game Awards.
Thank you very much. It's such an honor to be here.
It's great to have you. Lots of Canadian, Montreal teams up here, which I'd love to see. My big plans for the game, right?
It's true. I mean, we plan to keep this game alive for at least the next 5 years. And I also want to show the trailer for the very first time for our new chapter coming to Dead by Daylight, Darkness Among Us.
Okay, let's take a look at that. Another world premiere. Thanks so much.
Huh. Interesting. Among Us. Wow, Among Us. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't know. It is kind of disconcerting. I think they will run out of IP. I think that's the timeline, right? They will eventually run out of IPs. And I think that's where the game will actually start dying, because that's when they can't just pull out a Resident Evil chapter and call it a day anymore, right? Eventually, this whole, pump out an IP and then pretend like nothing's happening trick is going to run out. It's going to run out of steam, and you can't pull that trick anymore. Because that's kind of like the throw the blanket. If an animal's freaking out, this is good advice if you don't know this. Most animals, if they're freaking out, you throw a towel over their head, they kind of shut down a little bit. They kind of they don't calm down, but they're kind of you've deprived their senses, so they have to essentially be be more careful. So you can if you're having trouble with like a cat that won't get in a carrier, dog that won't get in a kennel, usually if you put a towel over their face, they just don't know what to do. You see this a lot on like gator shows. You know how like they'll catch the gator handling. They'll throw a towel on their heads, right? And so that's like kind of like our version of that. Is like we're seeing how buggy the game is. We're seeing how unbalanced the game is, and the really unfun parts of the game. And then they'll throw the towel on our head. They'll be like, "Hey, Resident Evil chapter, Resident Evil chapter 2, Resident Evil chapter 2. Pay attention, Resident Evil chapter 2." It's like, oh. You know, like it's throwing the towel over her head, right? But eventually they'll run out of towels, and I think that I don't know if I can put a time frame on that, but I think that will be when the game actually starts having issues with player retention, because once they don't have a towel, when they run out of towels, or at least the towels that they throw out aren't good, like you're going to eventually, like there will be no more distractors to how malformed the game is. I think that's when we'll start like actually seeing like real issues with like people not wanting to play the game anymore, is when they can't just kind of go back and, you know, call upon an IP to kind of distract people for a while, because that's when the only focus will be the buggy messiness and unbalance of the game. So I don't know when that'll be. Obviously, they have, you know, like I said, they have a lot of big ones still out there. They can bring Alien, they can bring Predator, they can bring FNAF. Like they have a lot of big. Candyman's been wanted in the game for God knows how long. That's never happened. They got a lot of like big IPs that are still out there, just chilling, that they could grab. BioShock would be another cool one. They have a lot of big IPs out there that they could still theoretically grab. But you know, once they run out of that, I think that's when we'll actually start looking at like, oh God, do we really want to be playing this game? And I think that's when we'll actually start seeing people wanting to not play the game, not log in. I mean, there's already a lot of that, but like, I mean, like mass exodus. Like they put out like, oh hey, this is the we got the IP for Jeff the Killer, which is a creepypasta from 2009. Nobody's gonna care, right? Like once they start throwing out stuff like that, IPs like that, everybody's gonna be like, we don't care. Fix your game, you know. FNAF chapter on launch or FNAF security breach? Unironically, I actually think the FNAF chapter in DB would probably be less buggy than security breach. Security breach was a mess. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah, like Jason would be another one. Jason would be another huge chapter. Security breach just is a bug. You're true. Yeah, that's my opinion. I think it's like, I feel like their life cycle is intrinsically tied right now to how many more IPs can they get that are actually big IPs that people would care about. And once they run out of those, they kind of have to actually address the elephant in the room.